So today we'll be talking about a breathing exercise that's my personal favorite. It's called 478 breathing. And the reason that I like breathing exercises in general is because, as far as methods to control your stress level and decrease anxiety states or heightened emotional states, breathing exercises are things that you can always do. It doesn't take much, doesn't take necessarily a quiet environment, doesn't take you finding something in particular, and certainly doesn't require medication. Um, a lot of people become reliant and dependent upon medication in order to manage their anxiety states or their heightened emotional states, and that's not something that we want. We want to be able to control our emotions in and of ourselves, and what better way than by exercising control over something that we very typically don't exercise control over? Um, it gives us a greater sense of power over ourselves, which can oftentimes address some of the feelings of being out of control that are inherent in the anxiety states. So, 478 breathing finds its roots in yogic breathing exercises. It's something that if you intend to use in order to decrease your anxiety, strongly recommend practicing twice a day for 4 breath cycles each time. I typically recommend in the morning when you wake up, because it'll get you in a good, kind of clear mind state when you wake up in the morning, and in the evening before you go to bed. And it'll have the added benefit of helping you fall asleep as well. You can do it more often than that. Don't usually need to do it for more than 4 breath cycles, although after you gain a certain degree of proficiency with it, you might consider increasing to 8 breath cycles, but really no more than that. Um, it's a very simple breathing exercise, and the name really gives a lot of the instruction. You'll be inhaling through your nose for a count of 4, holding your breath for a count of 7, exhaling through your mouth for a count of 8. The speed at which you breathe is not necessarily the important thing. The important thing is the ratio. That it's 4 to 7 to 8, 8 being the longest, the exhale being the longest. And so you can do this in any position. You can do it standing, you can do it laying down. If you're doing it seated, I recommend back straight, feet planted firmly on the ground. And so when you start, you want to take your tongue and place it on the ridge behind your front top teeth. Um, and you will exhale entirely, getting all the air out of your body, like this. And then placing the tongue on the ridge behind your front top teeth. You'll breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. You'll go in and hold and exhale. And you really want to force that air out, but you want to keep it there for the full count of the 8. And so with the counting, you'll breathe in 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exhale 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And like I said, you can pick a rate that works for you. You can go slower or faster depending. But really, it's about keeping that steady rhythm and making sure that the exhale is the longest portion of the breathing. And the reason that this works, there's a variety of reasons. It'll decrease your blood pressure. But the thing that you notice is if you're entering a heightened emotional state, if you're entering an anxiety state, your breathing's fairly erratic, fairly elevated. And it's next to impossible to maintain a heightened emotional state when your breathing is slow and balanced. And so by forcing yourself to balance your breathing, you're going to be pulling yourself out of that heightened emotional state. So regardless of the stimuli, whether it's, getting cut off in traffic, difficulty at work, difficulty with a spouse, whatever the stimuli, when you're entering that heightened emotional state, this will help slow you down. And like I said, practice twice a day. Like I said, I recommend in the evening before you go to sleep, because it'll help you go to sleep. And if you wake up in the middle of the night, it'll help you go to sleep again. Um, and in the morning when you wake up, because it'll help you clear your mind before you start the day. But again, you can practice it as many times as you want. 4 breath cycles is a good place to start. Might increase up to 8 after a significant amount of proficiency. But probably just good to stick with 4 for the most part. And you'll see the anxiety reduction qualities of this increase over time. I encourage you not to necessarily expect it to have an immense effect immediately. Some people might feel a little lightheaded after their first times trying it, but as far as the anxiety reduction, it won't be extremely pronounced the first time necessarily. It can be, but not necessarily. It's something that you need to practice. It's something you need to train your body to engage in. So once again, it's a process. Very simple. Make sure you can breathe deeply. So back straight in whatever position you're in. Tongue on the roof of your mouth. Breathing in through your nose. Go in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And really forcing that air out with kind of pursed lips going when you exhale. So that's the basics of 4-7-8 breathing. Like I said, it's one of my favorites. I find it works quite effectively. There have been a number of studies on it showing its effectiveness, so I encourage you to practice it, and hopefully it works well for you too.